we did want to talk briefly about two news items, the first of which is the Catching Fire title change. In case you haven't heard, Catching Fire will no longer be called Catching Fire. It will be called The Hunger Games, Catching Fire. And this has really been blown up by the media. I don't think it's a very big deal at all, but everyone's been acting like it's some sort of, epic piece of news. But to me, it seems like an obvious change. Aldrin, were you surprised or shocked at this announcement?
I could not sleep when I heard that news. No, I'm just kidding. It was not that big of a deal to me. A lot of people were relating it with other moves that some, movies have done before. But I didn't see it was a big deal. It's kind of predictable that they were going to do that because as big as Hunger Games is right now, some people would not relate Catching Fire with Hunger Games, even though they would be kind of, big losers if they didn't. But
right.
It makes sense. It's a understandable change, so it's not a big deal to me.
Arianna, how about you? Are you pleased with this change, or are you pretty much just unaffected?
No, I think it's fine. I mean, it's going to be incredibly long when it's The Hunger Games, Mockingjay, Part 2, whatever. But, I mean, it makes sense because, like Aldrin says, some people don't know what Catching Fire is, if they haven't read the series yet, which they should. But it links it to The Hunger Games, which is good because of the popularity of The Hunger Games. So I know it seems a lot of, like, Twilight-esque and stuff, but it makes sense. It's like they had to. I kind of saw it coming already.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, I kind of just assumed that they would be doing that at some point because it does identify it as being a part of this bigger brand and franchise. Adam, do you feel the same way as us? Were you kind of just not surprised by this?
I mean, I didn't know that it was definitely going to happen, but I can't say that I'm shocked in the least. In fact, I'm not surprised at all. And I'll say this, I actually think it's a smart move for everyone, and it's not many people who are getting up in arms about this. It's only a few. This is really better for marketing purposes because, as you've alluded to, it's not necessarily clear to everybody that this is associated with the first movie. And the thing is, maybe you could get away with it, and I mentioned this to you earlier this week, Savanna, Divergent and Insurgent, for instance, or Delirium and Pandemonium. At least there's a commonality with the suffix that you can relate to it.
Yeah.
But Catching Fire, if you don't really know the Hunger Games that well, you're not going to know what that is. And so I just think this ensures that the Hunger Games brand, which is honestly the biggest selling point, too, for the series, is the idea of the games itself. And I'm talking about not for the hardcore fans. I'm talking about the average public. That I think it just makes sense. It'll be better for them.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they pretty much do this with every franchise now, it seems. I mean, the Chronicles of Narnia, Twilight. I think for Star Wars they did that as well. I'm trying to think of any other big franchises. I can't think of any.
Lord of the Rings.
Well, anyway. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, exactly. That was probably the most obvious one. Duh.
And they did all say Lord of the Rings. In that case, they really had to because no title actually has Lord of the Rings in it, of any of the three movies.
Right, so. And that brings them all together. So yeah, good move, Lionsgate, but not totally unexpected.